Hello gamers, nerds, and compañeros. Welcome to Black Cat Red River. This is going to be a quick guide to the user's display, or the HUD, in the Ancestors video game. And the first thing you see when you begin the main game in your starting settlement is a series of 3 prominent display circles spread across the bottom of your screen that looks something like this. At the top is your day-night cycle and your calendar, which is fairly self-explanatory, and then you have your contextual actions menu on the left there, which shows different things depending on what you're looking at. Then you've got your awareness and emotional state circled display, and in the middle your big green vitality and health circle. And then in the bottom right, you've got your clan stats and neuronal energy. And if it's blank like this, it means you have no clan. You're all alone. And finally, when you eat something like this horsetail, you've got your buffs and debuffs bar that shows up. And there you have a little shield that says you're protected from certain types of injuries. So this quick guide is going to go through each of these 6 display categories and give you a little bit more detail about some of the things that it displays and what it means for your apes and your clan. Your calendar starts on day 0, year 0, and it will generally advance 1 day at a time as you progress, except for when you have babies. When you have a baby, as shown here, your calendar will jump forward 15 months, or as shown here, 1 year plus 92 days. And when your clan gives birth to a second baby, the calendar will jump another 15 months. It does not let you have babies concurrently. It considers all births to be sequential. So here we have, after 2 births, our calendar indicates that it is now 2.5 years since the start of the game. There are other ways that time can fast forward in this game, like generational and evolutionary jumps, but for the moment, the day-to-day passing of time is the only one that you'll need to really worry about. The left side of the screen is where you get your contextual actions menu, and that will vary depending on what objects are within your reach, what objects are in your hand, and so on. So here you've got the option now, after discovering this berry, the option to eat it, or drop it, or inspect it, and so on. You have to be at an actual bed to get the option to lie down, and you have to lie down to get the option to sleep or to enter the evolution menu, where you will be able to choose your evolutionary traits and your skill tree. The ability to switch an item from one hand to the other is another contextual action that only shows up if you have an item in one of your 2 hands, and you've unlocked the ability to actually switch hands, which is a motor skill that has to be unlocked first. So here we have 2 obsidian stones, 1 in each hand, and that gives us the option to alter one of them and create an obsidian scraper, which is one of the useful tools that you can make in the game. Everything useful you're going to want to make in this game, from weapons to medicines to tools, is going to have to be made in this way. So they all are contingent upon learning the initial skill that allows you to switch hands. And this process is always done the same way. The object you want to alter has to be in your left hand, and the object that you're using to alter it has to be in your right hand. So here we're using an obsidian scraper to make another obsidian scraper. It's important to note as well that many contextual actions will only appear when you have the skill or the tool necessary to make them appear. So you can climb up and inspect the beehive, for example, but without the right tool in your hand, you won't be able to harvest any honey. But once we've learned how to convert these plant fibers into a grass stem tool, we can go back to the beehive and we'll see a different contextual action option appear. So that gives you the basic idea of how the contextual actions work. And you have to basically just experiment with that with different tools and keep an eye on that side of the display for different options popping up, and experiment as you go, and you'll slowly get the hang of it. The bottom left circle is a display that shows your avatar ape's emotional and awareness state. And the central feature of this is the large eye symbol. In normal states, the eye will appear white like this, but if it begins to flash or turn orange, it means you're in a state of caution, usually because there's a dangerous animal in the vicinity or there's some other reason for vigilance. In this case, we already knew there was a snake there, but as we moved towards it, the eye turned orange, unlocking a contextual action for intimidation. The success rate of your intimidation depends on numerous factors, like the type of weapon in your hand, the number of apes involved, the timing of the attempt, and the type of creature you're trying to intimidate. You'll have an easier time intimidating snakes than other types of creatures. The giant birds and the saber-toothed tigers are generally more difficult to intimidate, and you usually don't see either of them until they are basically upon you. The main thing to watch early in the game is the eye itself, especially when exploring a region and traveling on the ground, or even in the highest canopy of the trees where the giant birds of prey live. If the eye turns orange, you may have just enough time to either intimidate an unknown enemy and scare them off, or to flee up a tree to safety, or to dodge an incoming attack at the very last minute. Intimidating and successfully dodging each type of creature will give you experience that will help unlock new neuronal traits. If you already have a weapon in your right hand, and it has to be in your right hand, then you have the option to try to counterattack an incoming strike. Even if you're successful, you may not take down the predator. Some of them take 2, 3, 4, or even more successful strikes to actually kill. And it's important to note that your sharpened stick or spear will only last for one successful strike. So you're going to need to have an extra supply of them on hand. Or you can carry a more durable secondary weapon in your offhand, like a basalt chopper or a bone club, which does not break. And then you can switch out. But in any case, keeping an eye on your awareness display and also listening for the telltale sounds of a nearby predator, like the shriek of a bird of prey or the growl of a saber-tooth, can sometimes give you just enough time to get to safety or prepare for your own dodge or for your own counterattack. Now this brings us to the curved bar or meter on the left side of the eye. And that's your ape's dopamine level. And in a normal state, this meter is usually full and it increases every time you carry out normal or reassuring actions, like eating or drinking water, or even recognizing your surroundings using one of your senses. Your dopamine can become depleted when under attack by enemies or when in unfamiliar territory, and if it is completely drained, your ape will become panicked or hysterical, and fear can cause them to involuntarily flee towards safety, either up a tree or even towards their current settlement. Now, mostly you won't need to worry about this feature of the HUD at the very beginning, because you will likely be spending most of your first day or two just discovering new foods and tools in the immediate vicinity of your settlement. It's probably wise to hold off on exploration or trying to hunt animals until you've at least mastered the basics of the food and hunger mechanics, some of the medicines, and figured out how to craft sharpened sticks or spears. But if you do find yourself with dangerously low dopamine levels, you can get back to normal levels by finding a relatively safe location and just eating food items until your dopamine meter is replenished. One of the most important and misunderstood indicators on the HUD is the large green circle in the bottom center. This is the indicator of your ape's overall vitality, stamina, thirst, hunger, and sleep deprivation, all in one simple circle. Different kinds of actions will affect the color of the circle, and some actions will cause the green part of the circle to diminish in size, like exerting energy by climbing or crafting, or simply by getting progressively more hungry, thirsty, and tired throughout the day. When you exert yourself and lose stamina, you can simply stop what you're doing, rest for a moment, and the circle will pulse with green waves as your vitality returns to full strength. Upon waking up each morning, you get a pop-up bar that summarizes your food, water, and sleep status after the night's rest. A good general rule is to eat breakfast before going out on your day's activities. If there are yellow pulses shooting through the green circle like this while drinking or eating, then keep going until the yellow pulses stop. The yellow pulses mean that you are replenishing lost vitality. So if you stop eating or drinking too soon, it means you will not regain your full circle. Once you've fully satisfied your thirst, go and try eating something and see if you get more yellow pulses. Keep going until it stops. Once you've satisfied your hunger and thirst, if your green circle is still diminished, then move on to the next possibility, because it could mean that you didn't sleep long enough during the night and are still sleep deprived. It could mean you have suffered a permanent injury of some kind that has reduced your overall life expectancy. In general, clan elders will have smaller green circles because of a lowered overall life expectancy as well, so your clan elders may be well fed and watered and still have slightly smaller circles. But in general, if you monitor your green circle and try to replenish it throughout the day, you should be able to keep your green circle and your vitality more or less at its maximum size, at least for all the apes in their prime. The bottom right circle of the HUD display is sometimes confused with some kind of directional finder or mini-map, but it has nothing to do with maps or directions. It is a visual representation of your clan members in relation to your current ape avatar. But if your circle is empty like this, it means you have no clan. You can recruit new outsiders in order to be able to create a clan by meeting their different needs and allaying their concerns. They have diverse concerns, from hunger to fear. Once you've figured out their needs and fulfilled them, they will join your group. And the moment that happens, a white dot will appear on your circle. Each dot represents a clan member in addition to yourself. If the dot is outside of the circle, it means that that clan member is outside of the settlement currently. If the dot is inside the circle, it means that clan member is inside your settlement. The thin white line connecting the new recruit's dot to the circle signifies that the clan member is actively following you. A disconnected dot inside or outside the settlement means that the clan member is not following you and is doing their own thing. Once you have expanded your population, the clan status circle will give you a number of important details. At the top are your elders. On the left side of the circle are the other adults. And on the bottom or bottom right of the circle are the unattached babies or the babies that are being actively carried by you. So here we can see at a glance that we have a clan of 15. There's 4 elders, there's 5 adults, and there's 6 babies. 2 of the babies are being carried by my current ape avatar, and 4 of the babies are being carried by 2 of the other adults. The 4 adults here have their dots surrounded by a thin sort of golden line or border that indicates they have some kind of a mutation. Similarly, babies with mutations are represented by double-sized golden dots in comparison to the others. One of the skills you learn early on in the game is how to call your clan together to get them to follow you. So this part of the HUD lets you know who is actually following you at a glance. If a clanmate does not have a little line connecting him to the center of the circle, then it means they likely were outside the range of your call when you made it. So you may need to make the call 2 or 3 times to gather your entire clan together. Gathering the whole clan can be very handy when you want them to help with the crafting of spears, for example. Here we're getting the entire clan to mimic behavior and turn rough branches into usable sticks, and then you can get them to stack those sticks onto a pile for you all in one spot. The final aspect of the clan status circle is the neuronal energy indicator. So if the innermost circle is filled with white, like this on the screen now, it means you have accumulated a large amount of neuronal energy or experience, which can be used to unlock skill traits in the evolution page. You only acquire neuronal energy by carrying out actions in the presence of children. The more children your clan has, and the more children present to witness acts of discovery, crafting, or combat, the faster you will acquire neuronal energy that can be spent on neuronal traits, which effectively function as skill traits. The final component of the HUD that is worth introducing is the buffs and debuffs bar, which appears to the immediate right of the awareness and dopamine indicator. And this is where you can see any temporary protections as well as ailments and injuries that are currently affecting you. So here on the screen from left to right, you can see 4 different protective shields or buffs that are protecting our hominid from injuries like broken bones, the cold weather, snake venom, as well as bleeding wounds. These 4 shields can be gained in a few different ways, but having a supply of kat paste, coconut milk, and horsetail paste will allow you to go exploring or hunting with these major protections against both predators and the elements. Debuffs, on the other hand, are temporary negative effects that range from relatively mild things like digestive system problems or food poisoning caused by eating certain new food types or poisonous mushrooms or spoiled meat and fruit. Most of these food-related ailments are relatively easy to cure. There are some medicines that can be prepared to help with the various digestive ailments. It should be noted that there are two distinct types: problems caused by food poisoning and problems caused by non-omnivore traits, which means your hominid has not yet acquired the evolutionary traits to become omnivorous. But either way, though, the easiest remedy in each case is to go to the nearest fresh water source and drink until you have flushed your system. More serious debuffs, like broken bones, snake venom, or bleeding wounds, can be suffered from predator attacks, and one of the most lethal of these is a severe bleeding wound from a predator like the saber-tooth. Some of these effects can cause permanent damage to your ape's vitality, or even death if left untreated for too long. But having a stockpile of clotting medicines, like horsetail leaves, or paste, or kapok fibers ready to use in advance of any injury, is one way to minimize your risks. Well, that more or less covers the basic elements of the HUD, or user's display, in Ancestors, the Humankind Odyssey. I hope you found something interesting or useful in this introduction. And if you liked it, or would like to see a guide on a different topic, feel free to add a comment below the video. Until next time, and happy hunting, my dear hominids.
Mm-hmm.